Okay, so welcome to the Pawn and Sacrifice channel and installment 32 of the 924S turbo build. At the end of the last time, I was sobbing slightly because the turbo, the KO4 from the 225TT that I just rebuilt wasn't going to fit. So yeah, shame on me. I'm not about to start cutting and welding exhaust manifolds right now. I just want to keep things moving, so I'm going to use the KO3S, which I previously rebuilt, and yeah, and that's going to be basically how I'm going to proceed for the moment, is just try and use what fits easiest, just to get this done, with the view that I'm going to come back and upgrade a few things further on down the line. So that's that. This time so at the moment I'm still waiting on collecting some parts. I've got some things that are in the office that I need to get, and some other bits where I've basically bought things, tools and whatnot, which are going to help me, but I need to get to grips with the way they're going to work. So there'll be some other videos coming shortly, just tool reviews. I don't know whether you like those or choose to skip them, but there we are. So yes, this time I've got a few little chore type things to do, which I might as well get on with now. One of them is where I've got the exhaust, not the exhaust, the intercooler. I need to get these pipes fitted on either side, which is not a big job in itself, but where I've made the brackets, I just, that hold everything in place, I just need to make the gaps big enough so that these fit through and bolt in. And looking at these clamps, I think the bolting in is going to be the big thing, but that's not my first job. First job is going to be, don't worry, I'm not going to subject you to all of this, is going to be going through all of the wiring. So what I want to do is just go through, check the wiring, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that, just to make sure that the connections are all sound, because I don't want to be having faults that I'm chasing down when actually things are fine, but there's a broken wire in there somewhere. So I need to get that sorted. So I'm going to go through all those, which is going to be a bit painful. Just keep a track of what's where. There's some information in the Haynes manual. I don't know, whatever the manual is that I've got, in terms of that, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I'm just going to chart things as I go. The other reason for doing this is where I'm changing the coils. I know I said path of least resistance, but I kind of need to do this anyway, or buy new coils for it, because the ones were a bit knackered, so I'm upgrading them. And I've got all the stuff, but there is a section of wiring that I need to change. So what I want to do is prove that this is right first of all, get to grips with exactly what goes where, so that then it will just make it a lot easier for me to change stuff over afterwards. So yes, after a lot of gesticulating, let me show you what I'm going to be doing with the wiring. I'll probably show you a little bit of it, maybe time lapse some of it, and then we'll come back when I'm on to sorting out the silicone hoses to get the intercooler piping going. So this is the original factory wiring. It actually seems to be in pretty good nick. Some of it, because of the way that things are going to be set up, some things are going to be removed and some stuff's going to be rerouted. The coil connectors, this is going to need to be stripped out and run back, because there's a new section of wiring that's going in there to allow it to run the newer R8 coils, which I've got. Then we have over here, we've got these two. There's a whole load of connectors, but it's basically on the end there. I think these just go to the dash. These two connect into the back of the factory ECU. Now my plan is to replace this with an aftermarket one, but again, just getting everything running. This has been, I've actually had this de-immobilized. It wasn't too expensive, either the de-immobilizing or this and the clocks and everything else that came with it. So yeah, so I basically need to go through, check these wires where they connect through to the various different parts on the loom, which is going to be fun because I don't really know what goes where. Wiring diagram wise, this is what's in the Haynes manual. Doesn't really make the most amount of sense, so it doesn't make the most amount of sense to me at the moment. So as I'm going to do that, I'll just go through and document, nice little spreadsheet, what goes where, and yeah, just mark that down, because there doesn't seem to be any differentiation between these two connectors and the Haynes documentation, so I need to sort that out. Right, what am I going to be doing? One, I'm going to be labelling the connectors as I go, so what it is and which number it is in terms of cylinder position or what have you. And the testing is actually going to be done with my little Draper multimeter, which I have here. It's fairly cheap and cheerful. It was about £10, I think, but it's actually served me really well. There's a little function down at the bottom here, which I'm going to select, and that's come up with a 1. Now all I'm going to do is have essentially the two ends here, the two little probes, and essentially one will go on the ECU plug and the other one will go to the other end of that cable, which will be the connector in the engine bay. When I do so, I hear that little noise and it should zero out to show that the wire's in good condition. And I just need to go through the whole lot as and when I get them, label, and then log it on my little spreadsheet. So that's it. That's about as fun as it gets. Yeah, we'll see. Actually, before I begin my testing, just to make things a bit more manageable, what I am going to do is just remove this section here. It's what connects to the firewall. There's the wires running through. Actually, this might be quite difficult to remove, but there's wires running through here. So I want to basically just try and get this off if I can. It's not going to fit, so I'll probably just need to do that first, and then it will just make everything a bit more manageable, not having this massive bar everywhere. This is turning out to be a horrible job. Probably good that I do it now because I've already nicked a couple of wires, so it's pointless testing to make sure that everything's working, then stripping off and then damaging some. So at least I'll be able to see what I'm going to patch up. But it looks like this whole thing has just been. There's just basically they just lay the wires out and then mould this stuff around it, rather than I was hoping there'd be a loom inside there. But I've started, so let's go on with it, and I'll be back when I'm on the next bit. Okay, that was not a quick job by any stretch of the imagination. I must have spent 6, 7, 8 hours maybe going through all of this. So thankfully you don't have to sit through that. Even time lapse, that'd be pretty bad. There's so much stuff that came off of this, it's ridiculous. Admittedly, I did this in front of the TV, so it's probably not that slow, and Yes, I did bag all this up and bring it up, show you how much comes off, but if there is a way that you can fit this or get this to work without having to go through all of this, then it's definitely worth it. It's just such a painstaking task. So yeah, that's all that. And this is what I've ended up with. So this section obviously was all covered up before. That's all now been stripped out. This is the end of that conduit piece, which I will keep on for now, although ultimately it's going to come off. So essentially what's happened is I've been through all of these and continuity tested everything against from here down to wherever the various endpoints are. I've learned a bit about the wiring. I've got my little spreadsheety thing here, which just details exactly what's where. This is going to be more relevant, the spreadsheet, when I get to the next stage, when I have to go through and make some cuts, take some connectors off and fit the, what I'm expecting is going to be the Emerald ECU, which is the aftermarket one that I think I want to use. So yeah, this is all good. One thing I did find, once again, is don't necessarily trust the Haynes manual. So this is going to be set aside now, and I'm going to get under the car, or clear some rubbish out the way so that you can see, and then get under the car and start having a look at where I need to attach these hoses. I'm going to need to remove, once I've lined everything up, I need to remove the intercooler. So to do that, first of all, I need to remove the radiator. I think what I'm going to have to do, the hoses are on the floor, is just expand it out slightly. I think the original design I cut too close to this size, which if everything lined up would be great, but at the same time things start moving around. What I don't want is holes wearing in here. So that's all fitted up now, which is good. I'm going to have one last try to get these clamps on, but I'm not convinced they're going to go, but I'll fiddle around and have a look. Before I put it back on, the other thing that I just want to do is, this is the radiator from I think it's a Fiesta ST something or other, and it's got a load of clips on here. So what I've done is just ordered up, bought second hand obviously, as you can tell by the condition, the radiator to go with it. So it's got the cowling that goes all the way around, although this one's got a bit of a thing in the top, which I'll just take or put something over that just to seal it off nicely. The only slight issue, because there has to be one, with this is, trying to remember which way up it should go. I think it's this way. Oops. So having attacked this on the bench rather than trying to do it on the car, that seems to now fit okay. I mean, the sizing wise, it's a bit over on the top and then the bottom as well, but I can work with that. So I think I might, rather than trying to get this to sit any lower, that seems to be held nicely in place now. So we have my fan, which is intact. I've checked it on the battery, and it spins nicely. I'm not quite sure what this little green bit is down the bottom corner, I've left it there so that there's not a big hole where it would be, and obviously that's where the controls connect, which will be run off of the water pump control. So yeah, so I can now get this fitted back in. Well, that really wasn't too exciting, I'm afraid, and was actually done in terms of filming a lot quicker than I was expecting. The wiring took for flipping ever, but I mean, I wasn't about to film all of that, me watching television and going through dabbing on a load of points, but that should set me up nicely for when I want to go to the standalone ECU once this thing's running, and that should make life a lot easier. I also need to work out what I can take out. I'm leaving everything in for the moment in terms of the wires, and that's why the loom was just sort of cable tied together at the moment, is that I'll be redressing that. I'm going to need to work out what I'm keeping of the original loom and potentially where I can use the original relays and relay board. So that's all very exciting. The radiator's now on and clipped into place, and I've got those pipes coming out of the side. I just need to get the smaller hose clips to hold those into place. My nice expensive fancy ones are just too thick in terms of where they sit or how close they are to the edge of the pipe. And so in terms of piping, now that the hoses are in place, I can start looking at and trying to work out exactly what I need in terms of hosing. So on the hot side, I have got basically a standard 2.5 inch to come out and then go up to the turbo. The turbo pipe here is pointing downwards, so I need to work out what I'm going to do with the orientation on that. And then on the hot side, where it's then coming out, there's a 2.5 to 3 inch coupling, which is 3 inches is what's on the throttle body. So I just need to again work that out, and I need to see what I'm going to do in terms of welding and getting all of this stuff put together, because I don't really want to be using lots and lots of joiners all the way down and across. That's what that movement is, go basically down, looping back around underneath the car, and away we go. So yeah, so that's where all of that is. Got a couple of product bits on the way, some new things, one of which is going to help with this. So, or at least I hope so. And yeah, and then we'll be back. Oh, the other thing which I did buy or have got is some exhaust piping. Now this is a factory, or one for the factory configuration. The reason I bought this is because it's probably cheaper to buy these sections than it is to buy the flanges and then the pipes and the bosses and everything else. All adds up. So I need to, again, similar to this, once I've done a bit of welding practice and what have you, have a look at getting all of these bits welded together. I'll have a load of piping and other bits, coolant hoses and what have you, stuff that's going to go underneath there. Hopefully one of these. Lots on the way, hopefully. We're going to see some more rapid progress and things that are a bit more interesting than this. Although this should give you an idea of all the crappy jobs that are involved and things you need to do along the way. So that's that. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully catch you on the next one. Cheers.